I think I'm a special one.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yo, what's up, everyone? World Cup's coming to Philly.
We just talked about you not having a corny intro. Here he comes with the most corny intro of all time.
Dude, I'm excited.
But yes, episode 38 of the podcast. We're back. It's been like 2 weeks since we did the last one, so getting on a more regular rhythm again. We're getting back there. A lot of stuff happening. So
yeah.
But most important, what are you wearing?
I
First,
I just want to say we're recording this during the NBA Finals too.
Yeah, but I don't really care about this finals right now. It's how much we love this game. But if you're not watching, just take a look. Chad just looks like a crazy hipster right now. It looks like one of those guys who should have like a thick mustache.
I'm going through a phase.
He's got like a 5-panel hat on.
No,
trendy.
I am kind of matchy right now. I got my black and white Juve kit that I picked up locally here in Bridgeton, New Jersey. Forget the name of the store, but
yeah,
I think I've worn this before. We're to the point where I'm not sure if I've worn certain kit before or not. The talisman caps, always rocking talisman caps.
Support logo.
Yeah, the freshest hats.
How about talisman caps puts their money where their mouth is and supports the local grassroots podcast here? Yeah, I think we need that.
Yeah,
would love some support local gear in the back. But yeah, I'm rocking my Philadelphia Fury jersey. I might have worn this one or a different Fury jersey, but yes, when I played for the Fury, we had these jerseys, and I guess at the end we were allowed to keep them. I don't know. It's got sponsored by hotelsvip.com. Number 15.
It's got a phone number on the sponsor just in case someone's running down the field.
Hey, let me call this
number.
Let me grab this number real quick. Yeah. It's got the old school Fury logo, which is actually pretty fresh. Yeah, it's all right. Hummel brand. So yeah, so there's some news that happened. So real quick, the original idea of this episode was like we found some data on like the Premier League and some other stuff. Kind of wanted to look at that and just like kind of like spitball ideas. Like, hey, what does this trend mean to you? What are you seeing? Not like looking at analytics, but just kind of like relating it back to the game, right? Like I have a heat map. We're kind of looking at heat maps, what formations teams like to play, what that kind of means for their play style. And then just like some tactical trends in the game right now.
I just thought of this. Maybe in the future we bring out a tactics board and we put it right here.
It's not a bad idea, but we do call ourselves a podcast.
More of a visual.
Oh, you mean like to just leave it here?
Well, we're right here, and if we're ever talking tactics, we can show it on the.
Why didn't you?
Because there's a lot of podcasts out there that watch other videos and react to them.
Yeah,
it's so not a bad idea. It helps to view the video.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I'm not sure. I think we get a decent amount of viewers on YouTube, but I think most of them come through Spotify and Apple. But it's honestly a good idea. And honestly, it would look kind of good if we just put it up on in the middle here.
Yeah,
that's a good idea. And then do like a super quick recap of the last 4 U.S. national team games. Nothing like huge to talk about, I don't think. They just picked the World Cup cities today for 2026. We'll just kind of react to that real quick. And then talk about MLS's new TV deal with Apple Plus or TV or whatever it's called. So just like some kind of quick hitters, but like I said, like the last few, we've kind of been reacting to things, reacted to the Champions League and to the U.S. national team, whatever. So this is something we're just kind of like, it's not just a reaction. It's us interpreting and kind of dropping knowledge, as I would call dropping knowledge. So you ready to get into it?
Let's get into it.
All right. So my thought originally is, and I'll post this graphic when I can. I'll post it on Twitter and other socials. Is The Athletic put out an article, and basically what it was a heat map of all of the Premier League teams in possession.
It's basically a heat map. It's
more of like, so where the players, I don't know if you consider it a heat map, but their most common position, most common starting formation. And then the stronger the line is. So like, let's say you have two center backs. If there's a strong, like thick line, it means they pass between each other a lot.
Yeah.
So there's, the right back, like, so the right back to the right winger might have a strong line if they complete a lot of passes to each other. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to look at
if a player is used more, then their circle is bigger.
Yeah, and it's what, green or something?
And if they're used less, then their circle is smaller and red. Like Burnley, for example, their forwards
red. Red means
possession
value low to high. So not that matters, but like what I'm saying is we're going to interpret this and just kind of talk about tactics and see, like, does it fit what the narrative is and what we're talking about. So you want to start with like Manchester City?
Did you send? Yeah, you sent that.
Yep. Yeah. So I have it up. So Manchester City, if you're listening, you want to like check this out, we'll post this on social, right? So you see they line up in basically a 4-3-3. Their wingbacks aren't all that wide. They really don't have a ton of width on this field. And I think it's because, sometimes their fullbacks are inverted. Sometimes they're a little bit wider. Sometimes their wingers are super wide. Sometimes the wingers come in. And what's interesting is like throughout the season, they played maybe Cancelo on the left would tuck in or Zinchenko on the left would tuck in. Then other times it was Walker or Cancelo on the right would also tuck in. So there was normally like a fullback that would not be as tucked in, not be as inverted, but it was almost always bounced. And it's almost like you think Pep, maybe he switched it up. Like in football, they say Bill Belichick in garbage time would do something that he wouldn't normally do to skew the stats. So that way, when someone looked back and they didn't realize it was garbage time, they'd be like, oh, the Patriots pass in this situation, which they would never do in a close game. So some of it is me thinking Pep like galaxy brain this and was like, let me invert the left fullback this time. So it skews the data and we get some practice too.
Yeah.
Could be a theory, right?
Potentially.
But then we also see in this Manchester City data is there's one pivot, right? A single defensive midfielder, two higher midfielders, and then two higher wingers off of that. What I think is definitely a trend is that what you would call the eights, right? The two more attacking minded midfielders are pretty high up the field. The two wingers are higher than them. And like everybody says with City, they play a false nine. Their forward is not the highest player on the field, and he has the least amount of passes to him, and he's the only field player with a lower possession value.
Yeah.
What did you kind of take of that? Because I have some thoughts here. I want to see what you.
It's kind of exactly what I would think from City. Like, definitely the most lines coming, like most lines meaning passes coming from the goalie. Probably the thickest red circle of any goalie.
Yeah.
Because like he plays a lot of it, just a ton of passes. Like you said, everybody's green except for like a light green, and that's the false nine. Like earlier in the season, they wouldn't like. I feel like whoever was playing the false nine, Ferran Torres was playing the false nine earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And dude, there would be games where I didn't even know he was playing.
Yep.
So
my thought was I kind of like worked this out in my head as I was texting a few people and working out. I really think that one, they didn't have a center forward. And I think the reason they bought Erling Haaland was you just have that kind of talent. You can't let him go. Like you just have to jump on it. But I don't think Pep really values that at all. To me, it seems like a trend in the modern game because you see other teams do it as well, where they just play an extra player. So a Phil Foden, if he's playing the false nine, it's not necessarily that Phil Foden's so good as a false nine. It's that he can take up that position when necessary, and you get an extra ball playing midfielder on the field, an extra creative body, like a guy who can retain possession, a guy who's cleaner in possession, can dribble, take guys on, dangerous in those kind of areas. And then if he's got to rotate out to a wider position or a center midfield position, he can. Someone like Kevin De Bruyne can take up that position. He's not going to body up a center back and take a hold of the ball. But if you think of where the nine normally goes, right? A traditional nine, or even like a semi-traditional nine, is bodying up against the center back and you're playing a ball into his feet. Well, that's not really a dangerous area because that's a tough ball to keep. Best case scenario is he takes a touch, he holds it up for a few seconds and he lays it off. Well, teams, when they're trying to break pressure or when they're trying to break teams down, they're not trying to go through the middle, through those center backs anyway. So it's almost like, hey, we're going to concede that area of the field and just get an extra useful body there. And
another thing that would be kind of cool to look at this is like see what parts of the field their goals come from.
Mm-hmm.
Like most of their goals come from.
Yeah.
But the reason they signed Holland, like you can't have the same play style. You can't consistently play the same way forever, you know?
Yeah.
Like maybe what City's doing right now would get a little dry. I mean, like Liverpool ended up catching up to him. Liverpool beat him once, right? And then tied him twice.
It's not, but they haven't been doing this for years. I mean, they had like Aguero as their like kind of out and out forward. Like it's not like they've been playing with a false nine forever.
Yeah, Aguero hasn't played for a few years though. I'm just saying, like, with Holland, like they're adapting.
Yeah, and I got you. I mean, Pep has played with Lewandowski as a traditional nine, but he's also played with Messi or David Villa or whoever as like a non-traditional nine at Barcelona. So I think one, it fits the play style, the personnel, but it's also you get just ballers on the field. And then when you have a guy like Fernan Torres, Phil Foden, not as much, but you get these like field stretching guys who maybe are in that like area where a number 9 would be, and they run out of it to open up space for the actual attacking creative players. But to me, it seems like I wouldn't call it a trend because not everyone's going to replicate what Manchester City does, but it's players that can take up certain positions rather than play certain positions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I thought that Man City thing was the one that stood out the most. Because I think it really shows like if there's a team that's going to be on the forefront of it, it's going to be a Guardiola team. And like the passes into the striker aren't what's going to keep you possession. Like I think growing up, a lot of people, I feel like told us or TV commentators that like, yeah, we need our big forward to hold up possession. It's like, do you really? Because now you see all these pressing teams and these like the RB Leipzigs and Salzburgs and whatever of the world where they don't play it to the 9 to hold possession. They play it to a guy running in a more dangerous area in behind to get that ball.
Yeah, I would have thought from this graphic too that these players would be farther up the pitch too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I don't think
I think
attacking players touch the ball that close to the halfway line as much as they do, and because they go through parts of the game where they have the other team just deep in their end.
Yeah, I think it might be more like an average starting position, like where they start their possessions.
Gotcha.
But yeah, pretty much everybody's near the halfway line.
Bro, it's crazy because if you just zoom out on this graphic, like you can pick out the City one because it's just more
all green. The Chelsea one's pretty obvious too, but we'll get to that. But going off of this, right? So we talked about the 9. We talked a bit about inverted fullbacks, which I love inverted fullbacks. What do you think about the fact that they don't really play with a true number 10, right? Kevin De Bruyne has all the skills of an attacking midfielder, but he doesn't play as a 10. He doesn't play underneath a big number 9. And a lot of teams go with this like single defensive midfielder, 2 kind of more box to box. To me, like I was talking about a guy I work with, he's Italian. And like, he always talks about like the number 10, there used to be a number 10 for Juventus, like a true number 10. Have we seen a death to the number 10? Do we just not develop them? Are they not around?
I can't say like there's a death to number 10, but I always thought the number 10 works best off like a target forward.
Yeah.
Like the number 10 is kind of like the number 10 came from a 4-4-2 with a big guy, small guy, you know?
Yeah. Second striker, big guy, small guy.
Striker. Then the number 10 became more creative and like more of a midfield presence. Yeah. And now we're seeing 1 defensive mid, 2 8s. And we see this with Real all the time. Like one of those 8s plays mostly on the left. One of those 8s plays mostly on the right. Which now that I watch it more, I like that idea. Cause like sometimes when I play midfield, I'm like, someone will ask me like, what side do you want? I'm like, whatever side we end up on. But I kind of like when teams play like a player solely on the left center midfield side and solely on the right.
So
but KDB like goes through games where like he'll just try and find areas out wide to come get the ball either side.
You're trying to get Greg Berhalter to call you up so you could play that Weston McKennie wide center midfielder role.
Yeah.
I think like going back to what we were talking about, it's not so much like the number 10 skill set is still there, but they're asked to do different things. And it's more about taking up positions rather than playing the position. So if you could get 2 creative midfielders on on the field rather than one, or like two, I'll say, bodies that can drift wide or come inside rather than one. And I think there was also like a big 4-2-3-1 kind of trend, maybe 8 to 10 years ago, and that's kind of died off a little bit.
Yeah, that's the thing. Teams don't really need to play two. They don't want to play two defensive mids anymore. They want to play one defensive mid. So that pushes the center midfield a little higher. And if you play like a 10 and a number 9 together, like traditional 10 and a number 9, they're kind of in the same line.
Yeah.
And at least how they line up, you know?
Mm-hmm. So I was thinking, like, if there's no true defense number 10s anymore, to me, it's players in the half spaces, right? De Bruyne, like if you look at any kind of like heat map specifically of De Bruyne, like it's all right half space. That's where he gets that drop pass, he stops it, and he whips in across. Right foot inside the right foot, like that kind of dangerous area. So like to me, it's not so much, hey, let's let De Bruyne be creative in this middle of the field. Let's let De Bruyne be creative where he's most dangerous. Same thing with Trent Alexander-Arnold, right? We kind of talked about him on the last podcast with Liverpool. And part of it was like, could he play center midfield? And like, we chopped up the clip, posted on social media, like whatever. Like I don't value like someone on TikTok's like comments of like opinions. They were like laughing at us, but like, okay, he's basically playing center midfield, like when it morphs into some kind of like attacking structure, because he's in that right half space, similar to De Bruyne, whipping in similar crosses. So instead of laughing at me for calling him a center midfielder, should I laugh at them for not recognizing that he's like basically like a version of Kevin De Bruyne in the same sense, like where they whip in crosses from? It's just players able to take up positions in certain areas of the field.
I agree.
But I was like, you know what? Let me just look at it. The only two like true number 10s I could think of, they don't even necessarily play number 10s, but they have the skill set. I said Dybala and João Felix. Do you think anybody else?
True number 10s?
Yeah.
Dybala is one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
João Felix can play the 9.
Yeah.
Like
I'm so excited to see João Felix leave. I want him to go somewhere else.
Also, another good one is James Maddison.
Yeah.
He's like just a true 10, and like it's kind of how they play like Leicester. They play a 6, 8, and a 10.
So
is that funny?
Is that it? It's just funny that like all of the guys, James Maddison. No, like he had a good end of the season too. I really couldn't think of that many other guys. I mean, I'm sure I'm missing some, but so for half specific guys who are, this also, like when we're talking about center midfielders, some of them could be 8s that push into the half space or wingers that push into the half space. So in my mind, I was thinking of a guy like Pulisic for the US. He plays on the wing, but he's allowed to push into the half space and, take up the position there. Lets like a guy like the left back, Anthony Robinson, bomb up the field. A guy like Havertz in the false 9 sense, where he doesn't have the skill set of a true center forward, but he's silky, he's clean on the ball. He could take up those positions. He could kind of rotate between like half space, center forward, other half space, and like play in those spots and be dangerous from those spots. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I American bias here, but I put Gio Reyna, right? If you were to think of a player who's great, like in between, like not quite a winger, not quite a number 8 center midfielder, definitely not like a number 10, but like he belongs in the center of the park somewhere, like Gio Reyna, right? Like what's he good at? He's really good at receiving the ball. He's really good at like driving forward at somebody. He's good at playing through balls, playing it wide. Like to me, like you create someone in a lab that could do that, it's him. Like it's like the Hulk or something, like created in a lab, like use Gio Reyna.
Another obvious one is Mason Mount.
He's literally the next person on my list. Okay. Can you guess the next guy on my list?
Nah, not on top of my head.
I'll give you a hint. He also plays in London.
I don't know.
Superstar.
Smith Rowe?
No, Superstar Smith Rowe. You're close. Odegaard.
Oh, Odegaard.
Odegaard in the half space. Mason Mount in the half. Mason Mount could play more of a traditional 10, but there was the one season where it was, I think it was Pulisic's first season.
Sorry, I was watching England U21s today, so like that's why Smith Rowe was just fresh in my mind.
Yeah, I'm thinking more, Norway. But like the Pulisic was like pretty much competing with Mason Mount for like the left wing spot the first year under Lampard. And I was like, Mason Mount like is good, but he's not a winger. And like at the time, I don't think he was like a true he wasn't a true 10 either. Because remember, those don't exist anymore. And
he's in the middle.
He's a half space guy. He's just a half space. And like if you're playing a 4-3-3, like yeah, he could play center mid. Like that's a good spot for him. Or he could play as an inverted winger. All the same thing, right? A half space guy, inverted winger. Which is what he does, right? If Chelsea sets up in like kind of like a 3-4-3 or a 5-2-3, whatever, the two wingers in the front three tuck in, so you have like a Havertz is like a false nine and like a Pulisic and a Mount or something, and then you get the Marcos Alonso and the Reece James bombing forward. Mm-hmm. Nothing you want more than Marcos Alonso bombing forward. And Odegaard, same thing. Arsenal, a little bit different. We'll talk about it. Actually, maybe we want to transition into Arsenal real quick.
Yeah.
Arsenal will set up in like a 4-2-3-1. But what happens is if you look on the heat map too, let me pull this up. Arsenal, a lot of times they'll have their left back go forward and their right back stays. So like the Tomiyasu role, right? Tomiyasu is perfect at it. He's like a center back taking up the position as a right center back. So they'll build up with three in the back. They have their two defensive midfielders, like a Partey and a Xhaka. All right, I'm a big Lokongo guy. And then you have someone bombing forward like a Nuno Tavares. And
Xhaka is one of those players that takes up the left side.
The defensive midfield. Yeah. So it ends up being this like 3-2, and then like a Tierney or a Tavares, half space guy, center forward, half space guy, Saka as the right winger.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like a hybrid formation. But yeah, you could see in Arsenal's shape that the right back is more withdrawn than the left back. Now, sometimes that would switch. I think like Cedric would play a little bit higher and they would play somebody else deeper, parts of the thing. But look, they barely use their center forward at all.
Dude, like, I think it's because they had to play Nketiah for a chunk of the season.
Yeah. And he's not a traditional forward.
What do you usually play?
I'm saying like he isn't like hold up guy. He's like he's taking up spaces. He's exploiting spaces.
Well, these maps don't do forwards justice at all. Because
no, but maybe do they deserve justice? They put away the goals, but like maybe they actually offer nothing in buildup. So like if someone like Pep Guardiola is so valuing buildup so much, they offer absolutely nothing, right?
Yeah.
If you're a forward, listen to this. I'm sorry, but like maybe you just offer nothing to help your team get out. And then you see the two higher forwards. Is that Odegaard probably in the right half space there has a really strong passing value. He has a strong green dot, which means his passing value is pretty high.
A lot of passes going out to probably Saka out there on the right.
Yeah, Saka's nice, man.
Look at how they play out. It's every single time it's to the left.
Yeah, it's like left center back in the defensive mid, out to the left wing back.
Isn't that Gabriel? The left-sided?
Yeah.
Ben White's on the right?
Yeah, for the most part, like when they were full health, yeah. Yeah, Gabriel's class.
Ben White gets no love out there.
No, but that's also a trend I see too. Is we talked about the 4-2-3-1 being a trend. Like when we were growing up, right? I'm sure we played for teams that just like 4-2-3-1 was like the standard.
Yeah.
We'll talk about formations in a sec. Actually, I'm going to write this down because I want to talk about it more. But formations like went from like a 4-4-2 to a 4-2-3-1. Like if you played a 4-2-3-1, you're like, yeah, ball. But like if you played a 4-4-2, you're like, nah, you're old school. So 4-2-3-1 was like the thing. And now I think it died, but it's coming back to life as a hybrid formation kind of thing. One wing back goes high, the other tucks in. It's like a 3, and then two defensive midfielders, and the one wing back goes all the way high. And you really using it as a double pivot just to get it to those front five players, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's about time the 4-2-3-1 came back. I actually think it's done right. It could be like pretty useful. That's why I was pretty interested in Arsenal as the season went on.
Yeah.
Do I have anything else? Arsenal? No. Who do we want to move on to next? Liverpool? Let's see what Liverpool's lineup is here. So we have you on Liverpool's. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much what you would think, right? their wingbacks get up the field a lot, but Robertson's wider and Trent is closer to the half space. He's pretty inverted, which like to keep laughing at me for calling him a center midfielder, right? You have a single pivot in Fabinho, who is pretty much there to protect the two center backs. Two center midfielders get slightly high, but not that high. And then you really see, like, if you're looking at like the Mane and Salah role, those guys bombing up the field and getting ahead of the number 9. And this is one of the best passing values we've seen from a 9, right?
Yeah.
Like that dot is stronger than the other dots, right? You could barely see Manchester City's number 9. Liverpool's, they add something because they're pretty much an extra.
Actually, Manchester City's number 9 is bigger than Liverpool's.
Yeah, that's probably just because City keep the ball better, right? But like a guy like Firmino drops into the midfield. A guy like, whether it's Mane, super good on the ball. Diaz, super good on the ball. So that's kind of no surprise to me. But that really shows like everybody knows, oh, Liverpool play with inside forwards and it's Salah and it's Mane and they're running in behind. This data kind of shows us. You see how high Salah is. He didn't defend either.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he gets in position. Doesn't mean defends. But they use their outside backs like so much. Like that's like their main part of the attack. You know, it's like most teams get to their playmakers. It's like get it wide and then we attack.
Well, they are their playmakers. But dude, remember when Greg Berhalter said that our outside backs are superpowers? People want to compare Berhalter to Pep Guardiola. We literally play like Liverpool without the smash mouth. Same attacking structure. Because if you watch a Liverpool game, it's defensive midfielder Fabinho with 2 number 8s. So like a Henderson and like a Keita or whoever else will play there. But they're never, those 2 number 8s aren't trying to really progress the ball. Like they're not trying to get the ball behind the opposition midfield line, if that makes sense. They're there to help swing it. And it's Robertson, it's Alexander-Arnold, it's Salah. They're the ones doing like the attacking work. Does that make sense? So in World Cup qualifying, you had like Tyler Adams in the Fabinho role, and you had a guy like Musa and McKennie in more of those Liverpool 8s, Henderson, Naby Keita, who I can't think of anybody else.
Thiago.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Why did I not think of Thiago? Yeah. So Musa's like a Thiago. He's like the American Thiago. It's pretty good like comparison, right? So that means Weston McKennie is the American Jordan Henderson. But you know what I'm trying to say, right? Like those center midfielders aren't like the line breakers. Like Gio Reyna would not fit in Liverpool's center midfield.
I don't necessarily agree with you saying that USA is like similar to Liverpool.
All right, how?
They just play the same formation somewhat.
Same attacking structure. Which player on the US, mostly during World Cup qualifying, took up a different position than Liverpool's players typically do? Anthony Robinson was up the field all the time, just like Robertson. Pulisic was into Pulisic's not getting in behind, right? That's why I said without the smash, what do they call it? Heavy metal football. So Pulisic's not a heavy metal guy. He's not Sadio Mane. He wants to come get the ball.
You're making it sound like that
Ferreira's
watches what Klopp does and is trying to put it onto
100%, dude. 100%.
I think Berhalter's just looking at the team and seeing like how he can make them.
To be honest, if there's one guy who would not like, if you took a coach and said like, let me look at my best players and see how I could fit versus let me look at what other people are doing and try to copy, Berhalter's the second guy. He's like, let me look at what Klopp and Guardiola are doing and try to mix the two. Because remember, he tried to play with inverted fullbacks before, Berhalter, and like maybe that was him saying, hey, I'm Guardiola. Now he's like, hey, I'm like a possession-based Klopp. It's very similar. But if you go back to
not really.
If you go back to Arsenal and their 4-2-3-1 structure, go back and watch the Morocco and the Uruguay game. Very similar to Arsenal's structure, where one of the fullbacks would kind of stay home a little bit. One of the fullbacks
the
would
US
go.
Definitely changed.
Yeah, and I think it might have just been like, hey, we got this in our back pocket if we need it.
And I think it changed because it's helping Musa.
I think Musa's like taking a next step. And before we really kind of get into the US, but let's just go into it right now, I guess. It was Musa and Tyler Adams as that Xhaka and Partey, but they're actually pretty good with the ball. Adams not so much, but he was good against Uruguay. But Musa, like if he can get on the ball and those two be double pivots, then like that might be easier for Pulisic to try and get on the ball, that kind of thing. So it's like the ball goes to like a Musa, and maybe that outside back starts getting high, and then you create the three, and then the two as in the Musa and Adams.
Yeah, I definitely know what you're saying because we talked about this like 5 times in the past. Like,
I feel like I never
days.
stopped talking about it. I just,
but like I hope the listeners understand. Like,
yeah, if we had a tactics board, I would show you. But I mean, I feel like we've talked about it enough. I kind of feel like I'm repeating myself a bunch, but
no, we came to the conclusion that what the U.S. are doing to get their fullbacks higher up the field, which when it comes time for the World Cup, we're gonna have 2 very attacking fullbacks,
Robinson
starting.
and Dest,
Yeah,
and me.
So you'll probably come off the bench. Like you're like Tim Ream, kind of like you fit that Tim Ream role.
Okay, like a Gabrielle type. Like Tim Ream's our Gabrielle, dude. John Brooks.
But now you lost my train of thought.
I mean, we're talking about the U.S. and the 4-2-3-1.
What we were saying is to get the outside backs very high. You got the 2 defensive mids. They shuffle to one side so they can build up on this side.
Yeah.
The weak side defensive mid comes to the middle.
Yeah. Just protecting the back line.
Yeah. While say they're building down, say we want to build down the left. Robinson gets high. Musa might check into that space right to the left of our left center back.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's where you can get on the ball.
And then Adams can come in
and be that pivot.
Yeah, be the pivot.
Yeah.
And dude, Adams is good, bro.
All right, dude. No, he had a couple good games. He's not
when
that
does
good.
the ball to go to Adams? Like, oh man, dude, I hope Adams like
kind of a
like sometimes the ball goes to Pulisic and you're like, he could probably lose it here, and he does like half the time lose it.
Yeah, but also
Adams like I want to see his like pass percentage
against Uruguay. It was pretty good, but for the most part, I don't think
he's very good at just like he takes the ball from the defense and gives it to the midfield. Dude, he gives it to the attack.
I don't know. But anyway, I think it does let with Musa starting deeper.
Big Adams guy I've turned into in this past week.
That's brutal, man. I'm not a big Adams guy. I feel bad that I'm not. But
sorry, Calcium Moneyball.
No, dude, not that guy. But I don't think it's something that we're definitely gonna deploy at the World Cup, but like could be. And maybe it gives Weston McKennie or Brendan Aronson freedom to like go find the ball in other pockets, right? Especially if you started a Reggie Cannon at right back and not a Dest, then that lets Tim Weah stay all the way wide and Reggie Cannon stays home. And it lets like a guy like Aronson go hunt the ball and try to press when he has the 3 center backs, 2 defensive mids behind him.
So Musa played a very good game against, I think it was Uruguay. He played a very good game.
Yeah.
So after watching the Morocco game, the player's name is Adel Tarat, I think it was his name. When he first got to QPR, their head coach said that he did too many skills. So they told him that he can't touch in training or maybe even the games. He can't touch the ball in their defensive half. He can only touch the ball in the attacking half of the field because he would come back too deep.
Yeah,
and try and get the ball and do too much, which that's what I thought Musa was doing too much. Like I thought in order for us to be better, we needed Musa farther up the field.
Yeah,
but I think Musa's doing better now in that deeper role.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I wanted to see more from Musa on like the attacking side, but maybe that's not his best. Like
maybe he just rose to your challenge.
Attacking is not like his best like attribute.
No, I don't think it is.
He only had 1 goal the whole season for Valencia.
Yeah,
1 goal, no assist, 1 goal,
and that's why
kind of crazy.
It's also okay. He might not turn out to be like world class or whatever, but goes back to my kind of development philosophy. Is like he's a right winger, but it might take Valencia. He might come from the Valencia Academy and be a great right winger. He might start playing the pro game and realize he needs those touches in the midfield to be effective and not on the right wing. But when you develop players that are skillful on the ball and like can hold the ball at their feet if needed, then it gives you the flexibility to kind of plug and play those players everywhere. And you'd rather have that guy than someone that's afraid of the ball. So like, yeah, he might have like all players when they're growing up should be able to play attack and play out wide and play this. And you know what I mean? I just think it's a good kind of like
Moose
example.
is a good example of being able to play at their position.
But since we're just talking about all kinds of things here, bringing up Musa, and I don't know when he got to Spain. I'm not sure how recent he was in England because he's part English too. I just got to say, like, I watch a lot of English football, like the English FA puts out a lot of like videos about youth soccer and that kind of stuff. And every video, they have a few good coaches on. Anytime they're talking to young players, it's all about being skillful. They put out an article about futsal, be skillful futsal players. Put out an article about like 7-year-olds. They got to be skillful with the ball. It's about them and the ball. It's about being skillful. And
that's why they don't have any good center backs.
Yeah, come on.
I'm just messing around.
Well, I guess they don't really have any good center backs.
I'm just joking.
But everybody there is skillful. And you look at this next crop of really good English players. To me, I'd have to go back and look and like really do some research. But maybe it started after like the 2010 World Cup where they weren't that good. Were they good in 14? No, in 14 they weren't good either. They lost in the Costa Rica's group. Right. Oh, so if all you're doing is developing skillful players, that's when you get these Jude Bellinghams and the Declan Rices and the Sakas and Mason Mount. Right. They're not defined positions. Saka's not a winger. He's a wide player. Like he's a wide creative attacking player. Mason Mount isn't a 10 or a winger. He's a attacking half space, can find the gaps kind of guy. Declan Rice isn't just a 6 or a pivot. He can play the ball and progress into space. So like, I think that's really cool. And then Moose is like a similar guy. He's a right winger, but he's our deep lying center midfield playmaker, breaks lines with dribbling kind of guy. So like, why would you not want that? And to me, it goes back to like everything. Everybody's talking about skillful. No one's saying, oh, he's a good player. It's, oh, he's a skillful player. Like, oh, you compliment a guy. It's not, hey, great play. It's, hey, great skill. That's what he knows. He knows the skill is what's doing it, not the fact that he's big and strong or can boot it or whatever.
Yeah.
So
we also appreciate skillful players.
Yeah.
Like
now the skillful player might not always be successful.
People in different countries might appreciate just good, strong players.
Some big Russian center forward.
We appreciate the English players right now because they're skillful and they're fun to watch.
Yeah.
But people in like, I don't know, you said Russia.
Yeah, like Russia had that big number 9. He's like 6'7".
Yeah, they're probably like Zuba.
Yeah,
he just
kicking the ball.
He's so good.
Find his head. But yeah, we appreciate the skillful players. I'm sure we're missing a few, but like a Reece James, like he's playing right wing back, could play center back, could play kind of anywhere. Trent Alexander-Arnold should be a center mid. He's skillful, right? He's got a skill. So that was kind of like, it's interesting how we're linking all this together. We're looking at Liverpool's data, talking about Arsenal's 4-2-3-1, the U.S. national team, Yunus Musa, relating it back to youth soccer. But where else are you going to get that? You're not getting on any other soccer. Football with Grant Wall is not talking about this stuff.
No.
You know?
Yeah.
Or
orange slices. No.
In Soccer We Trust is not talking about that. Yeah. As much as I love the guy,
the state of respect to Jimmy Conrad.
No, what about Laos? What's the state of the union? Like they're not talking about this. They're not giving you your vitamins. This stuff is your vitamins. Now that I've ranted about a bunch of different stuff, the only other team I had left here was Tottenham. Like, no, it's not a joke, but
it's just kind of funny.
Speaking of Tottenham, real quick, the 10-year-old boys team that I coach, they're just named the Spurs, like because there's a bunch of teams at the club like named after pro teams. So like it's funny that like some of the players are like big Spurs fans. And like most of the parents didn't know that it was a soccer team. They thought it was like a Spur, like San Antonio Spurs. Let me find Tottenham's heat map. So, right, Antonio Conte comes in and he plays he's pretty much known for his like 3-5-2, 3-4-3. What they play is 3 center backs, 2 wing backs, 2 pivot center midfield anchors, and then like a fluid front 3, right? So if it's Son, Kulusevski when they got him, and Harry Kane, it's a lot of Harry Kane checking back for the ball. It's a lot of Son and Kulusevski getting forward and making those runs, but it could be any of the 3 checking back. And you really see it in this heat map here where Kane's got a good passing value. There's a lot of passes going into the right winger. And the center backs swing the ball all of the time. It's center back to defensive mid to center back to center back to
I
defensive
think
mid.
that's just what a 3-back does.
It does.
Like
it gives you
in build up.
This is like the widest team we see, really. Like they're wider than City, wider than Liverpool. It's actually kind of cool
Also
to see.
helps
I like it.
Ben Davies play usually is a traditional like left back. You play him in that left center back role. He tends to find himself more wide than a normal center back.
I found myself really, really liking Spurs towards the end of the season as well. Like Spurs and Arsenal were very interesting to watch.
Conte's man.
Dude, Conte's man, Conte ball was something. Now I'm not as big of a fan of like a 3-5-2. I like the 3-4-3 better, but I think it fits Harry Kane because like theoretically you're swinging the ball, you get it out to like a Romero or like a Davinson Sanchez or whoever's playing like right center back, and like they find like a split pass like a Harry Kane checking in, who could kind of play like as a attacking midfielder almost because he checks so far back, and he just flicks one around the corner to like Son or Kulusevski running in behind, and you're out of pressure. But the center backs are so good on the ball that they could absorb that pressure. Teams were trying to press Tottenham high, and like they would punish them for it. But like if you sat in a low block, I think Tottenham would also like kind of just take your space, space.
Another thing with this is the two center mids, how close they are.
They're close, man. They're like, you got to be together because think about it.
Maybe they do that thing that like where they say to each other before the game, whatever side we end up on, it doesn't matter. Maybe they're not like I'm left, you're right.
Yeah, I love Højbjerg. Højbjerg, so you say it.
Yeah,
I get criticized for pronouncing somebody wrong every podcast as well. I got criticized. I got grilled for saying instead of Ballon d'Or. He said it was like a French meal or something like soup de jour, Ballon d'Or.
You said Upamecano once, Upper Campo.
Upper Campo. Yeah, I'm not great with the pronunciation, but Højbjerg, that's my boy. And really, because think who's the outlet? You get it to a defensive mid, he could always go back to the center back and then just keep swinging it around until you find these wing backs. And it's also interesting, the wing backs aren't necessarily good players. Like I don't think they have a whole lot of quality at wingback this year, but they were useful players because they took up good spots. And they just signed Perisic.
They just got Perisic.
Yeah.
Whether he plays on the left or the right, we'll see. But dude, that's a good sign.
Yeah, man's got quality.
It's a class sign.
So that's all I had for this. Last thing I wanted to say with like some of these tactical trends. Do you want to go back and talk a little bit about formations when you're growing up? I feel like it's only fitting we talk about it.
Okay.
No. Right. So when you're growing up, the first formation I ever knew was a 4-4-2. I rolled up to practice and one of the guys was like, yeah, you're playing left center mid. So what the heck is left center mid? Like I thought there was just like center mid, a left mid, and a right mid, but it was a 4-4-2, not like a flat 4-4-2. It wasn't like Sir Alex Ferguson's 4-4-2. It was like two forwards. They didn't have any direction, but like a stopper sweeper. Everybody played with a stopper sweeper. But if you think about the trends now, if we're talking about Tottenham and they're playing like three in the back with like a double pivot, or take like a RB Leipzig and they'll play like a Kevin Campbell. They'll play three in the back and like a Kevin Campbell in front as like a single pivot sometimes. Isn't that just kind of a stopper sweeper? Because theoretically, when you're playing an old school 4-4-2 with a stopper sweeper, your fullbacks aren't getting up the field. But people started talking about wanting their fullbacks to get up the field when Barcelona started asking their fullbacks to get up the field. When it was Dani Alves or Eric Abidal, or like with Real Madrid, like a Roberto Carlos kind of thing. And so then it became, we got to attack with our fullbacks, but then it's, we don't need a stopper sweeper. We need a flat forward. So you play two center backs and like overlapping fullback. And now it's like, wait, we don't need overlapping fullbacks. We need that almost like a stopper sweeper structure again.
Yeah.
That's kind of coming
that's
full circle.
Good point.
And then from the stopper sweeper 4-4-2, you kind of went to a flat 4-4-2. And then to me, it was a 4-2-3-1. And then now the big thing is like a 4-3-3 with only a single pivot instead of a double pivot.
Yeah.
And then to me, it seems like there's more variety, maybe just because I'm more exposed to it. There's way more variety of like 3-4-3s and 3-5-2s now.
Yeah, a ton. Especially in pro games. Not like
I think growing up
NPSL
like
or anything.
Yeah. Shout out NPSL. Yeah, I think for the most part, the 3 in the back thing is like very much like in the pros. I still don't think it's a caught on, but all right. So a lot of teams are playing it now, right? Like maybe those players that are playing now, or the coaches watching the Premier League now might see Tottenham and be like, oh, I want to try that with my youth team. This is more prevalent now. That player growing up might take that 3-4-3 that Tottenham played, that he grew up playing for that coach, use it when he's a coach now.
Yeah.
So like they
or
recycle
talk about
itself.
it on a podcast when he grows up or something.
Yeah, that'd be crazy if he's talking about it. Especially if he has a podcast. So yeah, like it all kind of goes.
Mine was 4-3-3 stopper sweeper, but it was like the one center mid. It was the 4 in the back, but the stopper and sweeper, one center mid, left mid, right mid, striker, and like
a wide winger and all.
Yeah, pretty much 2 wide wingers.
I've seen,
and then around 8th grade, my coach switched us to a 4-4-2 because he said it would help us play possession more.
Oh snap!
So,
dude.
yeah,
Playing possession
and
based.
then when I went to new club, all we played was 4-2-3-1.
Yeah. I've seen 4-4-2, but with a deep sweeper, a stopper, defensive mid, and an attacking mid. But then it was also 2 forwards, but one was like more withdrawn. So it was like guys in a straight line up the middle of the field.
They won't see it coming.
Dude, they'll never see it coming. So yeah, what's the next tactical advancement? I think
I don't mean to get into it too deep, but in college we played some crazy formations with 3 in the back.
Yeah,
I think we played a 3, 2 wing backs, 2 defensive mids, literally like a false 9 attacking mid, and 2 wingers. And I played the false attacking mid once, false 9 attacking mid once.
Were you good at it?
I think we lost like 4-0.
You could fill footing. You just had to take up positions. You just need to be able to stretch the field when you need to, but be a ball player for most of the time.
And then we played a lot of a 3-4-2-1 formation. We played a lot of that.
Yeah, which is similar to Tottenham if done correctly. Yeah, I feel like everyone's had like a little bit, like if you play college, like you probably switch formations like 3 or 4 times at some point. What else was I going to say? I do know, like when I was talking about the outside backs, there was also a point where I think we saw like the old school Italian defending with the, what do they call it, libero and all that stuff. Like that went away, and like you see these more skillful players, I mentioned like Roberto Carlos, like he's a number 10, just playing left back. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a number, I don't want to say number 10, right? Because number 10s are dead. He's an attacking midfielder playing left back. Trent Alexander-Arnold is an attacking midfielder playing right back. Robertson is a winger playing left back. Like these guys aren't just fullbacks. They have skill sets of other positions.
You don't grow up playing fullback. You end up being put at fullback and end up playing good there.
I don't know, man. That goes back to my Yunus Musa take, though, that you got to kind of play everywhere. You got to be skillful. Fullbacks in youth soccer, are they skillful? Most of the time, they're not.
No one's looking at a 12-year-old being like, yeah, dude, I could see him playing fullback.
Fullback
from the men's national team.
Fullback. That dude, you'd be surprised at how many people are like, dude, he's definitely a good outside back. He's like, dude, the kid's 11. He's not an outside back. He's a player. Gotta make him skillful. Fullback. All right, I feel like as soon as we end this episode, I'll have something else to say about.
Okay, just to keep the randomness going, what's your starting USMNT 11?
Oh, dude, all time?
No. Like
more
like
random.
Right now. Like if you wanted to play a game, like who would you play? Like Reina included. Like everyone's healthy.
Turner, maybe Sean Johnson. Turner. I'm not gonna say Long. I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna be that guy that says Brooks either. I'm gonna go Zimmerman and Miles Robinson, but he's not going to be healthy for the World Cup.
He doesn't count.
So, heck, I'm going Mark McKenzie, bro. Going Mark McKenzie. By the way, speaking of that, I do think if we're talking U.S. men's national team, the 3 in the back with the double pivot, Reggie Cannon's been playing right center back for his team in Portugal. So he was kind of that right center back while Anthony Robinson would push up the field as a left winger. That is straight up. Reggie Cannon can do it. If Chris Richards hits, if he develops, that is the Chris Richards role. Like, I think Berhalter has that in his back pocket and is like, heck, dude, if Chris Richards is the guy,
he'll play that.
And
he'll play where Reggie.
He's such a good passer. Dude, imagine, and the Gio Reyna's so good in the half space, dude. Imagine Richards splitting a line to Gio Reyna, turning, driving, slipping one into Timo Weah. Pulisic on his front post run. Pulisic's really good at running into the box. I just scored us a goal. I literally just in my mind scored us a goal. But all right.
That's the game plan.
I love Mark McKenzie, but all right, maybe I'll go Richards and Zimmerman. I'll go Dest. I'll go Anthony Robinson. Adams, Musa, McKinney, I guess. And then I guess I'll go Pulisic, Ferreira, Weah. But like it leaves off Aronson and Gio Reyna, who I think are like two of our 5 best players. So I don't know. But we've also seen Berhalter like platoon subs before. So like he could change the system or just use those guys as extra firepower.
Okay.
What are you thinking?
Mine is, I agree with you with Turner. I'm up in the air with 2 positions. That's our other center back and our right winger. And potentially a midfielder, but so Turner, Zimmerman, Long,
really?
Yeah.
I'm typically like I don't shun the MLS
I was
guy.
against it because those two are like just similar. It's like
they probably just like smash each other's heads into like the lockers and.
But yeah, like when you're playing, like
imagine those two on the same team in training. It's like, dude, you're in for a rough day. You're just gonna get beat up.
In training, they're probably like, all right, Walker, you're on this team. Yeah. Long, you're on that.
They're
team.
the first 2 to go to different teams.
They're the captains.
Yeah,
but yeah, when you they did good against good opponents.
Did well.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. I did like what I saw from CCV.
Nah, dude.
In the mud game.
Not it, Chief.
He did do well. You didn't like him?
Okay. He didn't show. Not saying he won't. I just wouldn't put him there now. But go ahead.
Okay, but this can also change in like a month or something.
Okay.
So Long, Zimmerman, Robinson, Dest, MMA,
Musa, McKinney, and Adams.
Yeah.
In Musa as the Liverpool type midfield or the double pivot Adams Musa? These are the questions we try to answer, not the basic stuff that you hear on like the pregame shows.
If I had the tactics board, I would show you. It would be the single pivot, but Musa, like if there was the heat map thing, he would be like deeper, closer to Adams. Like they would be like close.
Such a
like,
cop out answer, dude.
No, but McKenny's getting up like he's like getting in the box. Like they're not similar at all, but McKenny's like the Marouane Fellaini. Like, bro, dude's like
anti-10.
Dude's like They
literally call Fellaini the anti-10. He's like all these skillful players for Belgium, like De Bruyne and like Prime Hazard, and like it's just like Fellaini down a goal, subbing Fellaini.
But it's exactly what I said. When one of those attacking fullbacks goes up, one of those two, Musa or Adams, drops in, helps on that side. And then Pulisic, Ferreira, and Reyna. I think Weah is one of those players that you can bring off the bench and like he can make like an instant impact.
Maybe
Aronson can start on different occasions depending on how the game is. And then I'm a huge Luca Della Torre guy.
Yes,
and he's great, but he's not.
There's some people that are like, dude, Della Torre is so good on the ball, he should play for Adams or like as a pivot. It's like I don't know if I would trust him as like a single pivot, Tyler Adams, but he could definitely play in like the double pivot, either as the Musa role or the Adams role in the double pivot. But I don't see him breaking into that midfield. But I think he's booked a trip to Qatar. He's going to Doha.
Yeah, I think he already got his ticket.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
He's buying some sunscreen.
Nice.
Yeah, and like I'm with you where I want to start Reyna and I want to start Aronson because they literally are 2 of our best 5 players. Like if you're starting a 5-a-side team, I'd put them they're more locks for my US 5-a-side team than they are in my starting 11. But it's just the other groups have been playing together longer, and it's hard to displace them. We're going to need all of them, so it takes an army. But anything else in the US? Like I put it on the agenda here to recap the last window, but honestly, we kind of did. When I think one of our funny jokes that we think is funny, it's not funny. So like Paul Arriola gets a red card in the last Nations League game, which is funny in itself because it's Paul Arriola. But like, it's funny that, so he's out for the next Nations League game, which is after the World Cup. So at least he gets to rest the World Cup, rest up for the Nations League. No, we have to play him in the World Cup so that to get the most out of him because he has to rest.
We don't have to play him. We get to play him.
We get to play him in the World Cup because he can't play in the Nations League.
We're trying to make the most.
Somebody like Christian Pulisic, you got to rest him the whole World Cup to make sure he's ready for the Nations League.
Yeah. At this point, like we qualified for the World Cup. Yeah, I'm cool with just going out and winning the Nations League.
Yeah, let's just keep defending our title. Another cool thing, Costa Rica made the World Cup again. I'll root for any CONCACAF country except for Mexico, really, in the World Cup. But like I said, we've been on here before. Chad criticized my player evaluation, and I've been high on Joel Campbell since before the 2014 World Cup. He broke out in the 2014 World Cup, ended up not really working out with Arsenal. Went to
he really broke out. Didn't work out at Arsenal, but
he had like 4 goals in the World Cup and got out of the group of death, which is absurd for Costa Rica. Made it to the quarters, and he went. Where did he go? Somewhere in Greece, I think. Did he go to Olympiacos?
I think so.
Spent time there. Now he's back. He's playing in Mexico now, but he scored the game winner for Costa Rica, like to get them to the World Cup, and like he was one of my guys. And it's funny because we were having the discussion like last week about like guys that I go out on a limb and say like, this is my guy. He's going to be good. And like, you're like, dude, it never works out. And like, they almost always work out.
You only hear about them when they work out.
Dude, it definitely worked out. I mean, like he's scored in the World Cup, scored to get him in the World Cup. So what else do you want to talk about?
What did you think of the MLS Apple TV deal?
Not sure, to be honest. Like, I don't want to have to buy something else. Like, we have ESPN Plus. I'm not getting rid of it either because I want USL and all that stuff. But we have Paramount Plus. We have like cable TV. We have all of these things. And now we got to buy Apple TV.
That's what sucks about it.
I don't know how to work like smart TV. I don't know what an Apple TV is. Like,
dude, you're sounding real old.
Dude, I'll write you a memo. Like, I really don't know what it is, but apparently when you buy the unit, like the Apple TV Plus or whatever is free, but then you have to buy the MLS app. But I was listening to other podcasts, and I think it's we don't have to get in like too big of details, but I think it's a good thing. MLS can control the media they have. Like, you go on that MLS app and there could be whip around shows. There could be like, you could just pump out media all day.
Yeah.
And they do a good job with like YouTube videos, podcasts. Like their website always has like fresh articles on it and stuff. So like they could really like create more storylines within the league. And like the league's going to be so big that like you can't watch all the games, but it could be similar to the Premier League where like turn on the pregame show and you just storylines.
Yeah. Me and my friend were talking about this. They now have time blocks. So like how the Premier League has time blocks, like 10 o'clocks on Saturdays, that type of thing. They'll have time blocks for
I like
MLS, that which I like. And then they can start to create like better like videos. Like you said, you can't watch every game, but you can watch like a recap
studio show.
Yeah, you can watch like a recap of all the games or something. Like you can go back and watch at any point, which that's how media's turning into.
Maybe you play on the betting thing. You have betting shows, you have fantasy shows, and you have whip around coverage shows. The time blocks thing is like, okay, it'd be cool if, the El Trafico is at the Saturday 10 o'clock block, right? Because now the games are at weird times, but I don't like the fact that it's going to be pretty much Wednesdays and Saturday nights because like there still needs to be those Sunday games. Not saying they have to be day games,
there's
but
no Sundays.
I think there's very few, if any. It's mostly Wednesdays and then
You're
Saturdays.
also the same person that complains when there's a Sunday game when NFL's on.
Yeah, hey, I like Sundays in the spring and the summer. Not when NFL's on, but now we'll have the World Cup when the NFL's on. So this starts in 2023. But heck, dude, they're making a lot of money. The teams are going to get a lot of money from it. Apple's probably going to lose money from this deal. And when Messi comes, maybe in 2023 at some point, like you're going to have people buying this MLS app just for Messi, just in Argentina or just in Barcelona.
Yeah, sure.
Like you're going to be buying this whole thing just for Messi to watch Inter Miami.
Yeah.
And, maybe you get some more people hooked on the league. I really think like they could play.
That's a great thought. That's probably the best thought you had all night.
My man. Dude, I had some good thoughts tonight too, to be honest.
You're some marketing genius.
I am. But like, okay, then if you really could play on the Inter Miami thing and really suck in some people in Barcelona that want to keep tabs on Messi, now you got people in Barcelona that might happen to keep watching Inter Miami when Messi leaves. I don't know. Or like you might get them into the storylines of the league. Maybe Messi has like a villain, like maybe Walker Zimmerman just crunches him. And like, then there's like this Messi versus Walker Zimmerman like that, or more like Aaron Long, I guess. And like, I don't know, that there's a better chance for storylines than whatever the heck is going on right now.
Chiellini. No,
Chiellini with LAFC. You're right. Chiellini versus Messi. That's all I had for.
I had some data things.
Some data things.
Remember I was telling you before the podcast?
Okay.
Do you want to talk about them? If not,
should we do another? So this was mostly formation based, ended up being formation based. Do you want to do a whole separate one of actual data?
Sure.
Does that work? Like, does it?
Yeah, I don't care.
Are your data points like that data-y, or are they more formation based?
It's basically just comparing players and.
Okay, then that could be a separate one.
Something else another time.
All right. Do you want to talk about the World Cup cities real quick?
Yeah.
Can you pull that up?
Yeah. I think I know them on top of my head, but.
Oh, snap, dude. This guy loves the World Cup in 2026.
I watched the whole coverage. You said it was going to be 5 to 5:30. I ended up finding out I was in Philly at 6:00.
Yeah, they probably threw in every commercial break they could. But, I mean, not a ton of surprises. You got the cities?
Soon.
So, like, in the East region, Atlanta gets it. Obviously, they're a big stadium. Miami gets it. I didn't realize CONCACAF is headquartered in Miami.
Yeah.
Huge, just like melting pot of cultures. Philly gets New York, New Jersey. What surprised me was Boston, because their stadium is out in the middle of nowhere. It's like an hour away from Boston, but the city has a lot of like the city can host events, but it's just weird.
And that's what goes into it, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the DC and Baltimore had a combined bid because Baltimore stadium's better, but like the big party and stuff was going to be in DC. I think that kind of got gypped because, dude, Boston's
kind of sucks because like the capital of the country doesn't even.
Yeah. And like, dude, you could do like a real play on like the high end. Like, I feel like there's a lot of big shots in Washington, D.C., like a lot of high end, high money. Like, what's the next region?
The Central is Kansas City.
Okay. Like, kind of like an overrated soccer city to me. I feel like
they do say it's a big soccer city.
Dude, when Sporting KC was popping, like, I get it. But like, what else are they? I get it's a big region, but
you got to have them out and like.
But like, what other like semi-pro teams are out there? What pro players come through? The only other like relevant soccer news is like probably the second best podcast other than this one. So coaching inside the box, and these dudes run like a Kansas City Legends like soccer club. They talk about coaching and stuff. That's the only other thing that comes out of Kansas City. And Arrowhead's not that nice of a stadium. It's just straight up like old school football.
Yeah, it is. Dallas, obviously LA. We said Atlanta. But I guess they put them in the Central.
There's no way they're in the Central.
Houston, huge city. Monterrey and Mexico City. Monterrey, Mexico City, and Guadalajara are the 3 from Mexico.
I think they were the only 3 they like put up for bid too.
And 3 were put up for bid for Canada, but only 2 got them. Edmonton didn't get it, but Vancouver and Toronto did.
But Edmonton was trying hard to get it. Yeah, or they dropped it.
Yeah.
I did hear Toronto, the only like real outdoor stadium they have is Toronto FC's.
Yeah.
Which I think now they just redid it like a few years ago. But so they have 20. It was smaller. They now have 25,000 seats, but they're going to try and redo it. They're going to redo it again by the time this World Cup comes around. They're going to add 40,000. So, or they're not going to add more. It's going to have 40,000. I know Nashville was one of the ones that was snubbed.
Yeah.
And actually, they have like an old beat up like Nissan stadium where the Titans play. But they were talking about building the Titans a new arena, and that's where the World Cup was going to be. But there's been delays getting the plans out, and they haven't started construction. So like I wonder, Nashville was probably going to get it, but they didn't have, didn't have all their ducks in a row.
Yeah, maybe that would have knocked Kansas City out.
Maybe. I think Nashville's in the East region though, so I don't know. I'll take it, man.
Vancouver, Seattle, San Francisco, LA, and then like I said, Guadalajara. Yeah. It was funny because like Bleacher Report Football posted like different players playing in the cities and like obviously like there's Messi and then it's like the Miami skyline.
I don't think Messi's going to be playing in the 26 World Cup though.
They were just doing it. Like Bruno Fernandes was in San Francisco. Chiesa was in Dallas. Like what?
That's football. That's prime football right there. Yeah. Dude, this is a top quality episode, I think. Like if you just enjoy soccer, enjoy soccer talk, like you just could enjoy listening to this. So we definitely have a data and player comparison episode coming up with Chad.
We also got some big things coming up.
Like what?
Like big.
What do you mean?
Like apparel big.
Okay. We'll talk about that later. Keep you on the hook. We'll sponsor somebody or Instagram something.
Yep.
I do have another scarf to hang up. I'll put it on the Instagram. My boy Scott Dorman sent me a Union scarf, blacked out Union scarf. Don't know why it's all black, but he sent it to me. So we got to send him some stuff, but I'll hang it up in the stew here. Is that it? Anything else?
That's it, man.
All right. I really hope this episode recorded because we just talked.
It definitely.
Oh man! All right, we good?
Yeah, gotta go watch the end of that finals game.
So that's episode 38. All right, we'll see.
All right, see you, bro.